peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and it is a pleasure to have you today. Of course, as usual, we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi, and I trust that your day has started off well. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuned in today. Joining me on the panel is Douglas Kirimi, all the way from Meru County. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to our crew, and to my friend Jevan Karanja. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our viewers across the world, depending on where they're watching us from. Thank you for having me on the show, Miriam, today.
Thank you for being here. Nice to have you on the show, Douglas. I hope your campaigns are going on well. And we are also joined by Jevan Karanja, all the way from Nanyuki. It's very cold in Nairobi. In fact, it was misty in the morning coming to work. And so I don't know how it is there in Nanyuki. Usually it's very cold. So I don't know if the cold has any difference today. Jevan, good morning. How is the weather over in Nanyuki?
Good morning, Miriam, and good morning to our viewers and Douglas Kirimi and the rest of the team. Indeed, today we are not sharing the same atmospheric conditions because here it's sunny, although it's a bit chilly, but we're having some vitamin D. Okay. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. Good for you. Now you're making me feel like I should come to Nanyuki, but it's all right. All right, thank you so much. So let me run us through quickly with what is on the leading newspapers on the headlines, and then we shall have our conversation this morning based on the headlines that are in the newspapers. And we start with the Daily Nation. On the main headline there reads, how Ruto man was kicked out at night. A Turkish national said to be an investor, but whose companies remain a mystery, spirited out of the country at 5 a.m. in unclear circumstances to the chagrin of Deputy President William Ruto. The story is on page 4. And then Kalonzo sets his sights on the presidency. The story is on page 5. And MPs to probe schools charging illegal fees. Absolutely, they should do that and go through and see who are these head teachers who have decided to go against the government directive. And yet, these are government schools. They're not there for profit making, so that is a good job. So hopefully, they'll get those head of schools that are culpable to face the full force of the law. There's no two ways about that. And then just up there, election spending, the depth of candidates' pockets may not matter much if Chebukati enforces the limits on the campaign spending. And I think we shall look at that much later at 11 a.m. We turn our attention to the Standard newspaper. The main headline, here comes Kenya's most expensive poll, as 1 year countdown to the polls began yesterday. IEBC unveiled campaign finance limits for candidates, giving a glimpse of the power money will have on the choices, with at least 50 billion Kenya shillings allowed for campaigns. The story is on page 4, 5 and 7. For 5, 6 and 7 of the Standard newspaper. And Iodine exits Kenya under mysterious circumstances, and what Raisi presidency means. And just down there, Shona's agony living on borrowed identities. But we know the other time, the Shona community who came from Zimbabwe many, many years ago had an opportunity now to get their Kenyan. They're now identified as another tribe here in Kenya. So now their status have been recognized, having lived in the country for such a long time, being considered as stateless. So now they're Kenyans fully, with full IDs, identification Kenyan identifications, okay? On the Star newspaper this morning, the main headline, IEBC sets a new tough finance rules for 2022. Candidates must open campaign financing accounts, stick to limits, and then high turnout for COVID-19 vaccine at Kenyatta National Hospital. And then just up there, DP Ruto blasts Uhuru men for iodine arrest, offers apology. So let's just start from that story. I think yesterday we had a bit of that conversation, but we didn't get so much into it. And while we were talking about it, I think we received a notification that iodine had already left the country. And DP Ruto, I think, decided to offer an apology on behalf of the Kenya's government. So let's just see that. The story is on page 2 of the Star newspaper. Deputy President William Ruto yesterday blasted government operatives in the office of the president, saying they caused the arrest of the Turkish national Aydin Harun on false allegations of having links to terrorism in what is seen as ridiculing and putting the blame at President Uhuru Kenyatta's doorstep. The DP said he telephoned the businessman and apologized to him on behalf of the government of Kenya. Ruto said Aydin, who was arrested by police and held incommunicado with his lawyers and Turkey embassy officials upon arrival from Uganda, was tortured and falsely profiled as a terrorist, but later asked to fly out, not to shame those involved. That is what Ruto said. Douglas, I'll start with you.
Miriam, we are having a very huge problem in this country. On whose behalf, on whose government, and which government was William Ruto apologizing on their behalf? The government that deported Harun Aydin, the government that is headed by President Uhuru Kenyatta, or a parallel government that is run by William Ruto from Karen? Because Miriam, this kind of confusion was ended in 2013 and 2017 when they elected the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and gave him a mandate that translated into a social contract. If the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta arrests a criminal, a terrorist, a suspected terrorist in this country, and deports them to their country, their deputy has no mandate or even has no authority to apologize on behalf of the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Maybe William Ruto was hallucinating. In future, when he forms his own government, he can apologize for the past, in quote, injustices that have been meted on his own investor friends from across board, or maybe from outside the Harun Aydin. But at this point, Miriam, we have no two centers of power. We have no two governments. William Ruto has no more authority to talk for and on behalf of the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta. This kind of confusion, this is a mere deputy, an assistant to the president of the Republic of Kenya. We have seen, even as he is in Mombasa State House, in Mombasa City County, we have seen that the president of the Republic of Kenya has been dispensing his mandate as the president. He has not given anything, any work to the deputy. And we also know that the President Uhuru Kenyatta is not an old man, he's a younger president compared to the rest. So there's no piles of work and too much work for him to be able to delegate the apology to Harun Aydin. To William Ruto, so that he can apologize on behalf of the government of Kenya to Harun Aydin. This is a man that lives in the past, Miriam. This is a man that is overstepping his mandate. Because, Miriam, how does a deputy president, a principal assistant to the president, a man that can only act when he's sent by the president, which the president saw that his ambition is bigger than the people of Kenya, and they relieved him of all the small things that he would have sent him here and there to go and do? We have not even seen William Ruto launching a government project. Why would he take the responsibility of apologizing to his own investor friend? Some people are saying in some quarters, Miriam, he is apologizing to Harun Aydin because of a 15 billion has just drunk water, in quote, because William Ruto and Harun Aydin have been in business of vaccines, Miriam, and at this point, you cannot apologize on a government that you do not even have control of. William Ruto is a shameless man who has brought shame to the office of the deputy president in this country. And I will not cease to tell him, 1 year to elections, please resign from government of President Uhuru Kenyatta. If it is embarrassing you, resign. You form your own in the future and do what you want with it, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay, Simon Deng, Igwe Chuku, and Ogebe Omot Chan, and who else? Emmanuel and the rest of you, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for tuning in. If there's anything out there that is happening that you need to bring to our attention, and Ogebe, yesterday we were having a conversation on South Sudan. I think we will have some of that later on, because I think what is happening there is indeed worrying and very, very disappointing to the rest of everybody else in the world who was just hoping that the leadership in South Sudan will get their act together. But unfortunately, that is not the case. But right now, we are looking at what is making headline here in Kenya, and Deputy President Jevan Karanja has apologized to the businessman on behalf of the government of Kenya.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that. And in this country, we are experiencing some kind of dramatic leadership, especially with the top leadership in this country under Jubilee administration, because you are seeing two leaders who are reading from different scripts. We have President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is focusing on, sorry for that. We have President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is concentrating on cementing his legacy. And we have his deputy president, who is more on succession politics and the 2022 general election. And Miriam, they end up reading two different scripts. And it's so unfortunate, because as a country, we need leaders who can work in harmony. But Miriam, when you find a leader who is overwhelmed by his ambitions to a point where he cannot control his ambition, he cannot control his passion, he cannot wait until the right time to do the things which are supposed to be done, then as a country, we are left with the kind of confusion that we have. That is why you find that we have Kenyans who are very bitter with the current regime, not because that the regime has done anything costly or something that is not good per se, but because of the information that is coming from certain quarters that are within the government. And that is the most worrying thing, a government within a government that is disagreeing with the same government. That is something that is so unfortunate. And I think this kind of event should not reoccur again in the future. On the issue of Harun Ayadin, the government has said that these guys are suspected a terrorist, and his character is questionable, and he is a man who is known to engage in illicit activities, and his presence in the country was not welcomed, and I think that is why he was deported back to his country. But when you look at the side of the deputy president, led by Kapsaret Member of Parliament, Oscar Sudi, they are saying that this guy is an investor. He invests in modern fruits and vaccines and so on. But Miriam, when you look at the same thing, the government is saying these guys are suspect. These people are saying these guys are an investor. Therefore, we need also to know from the immigration department, how did this guy get into the country? What was his intentions? Because I think we could have given room for this guy to explain a bit what he was doing in the country, or so that he can maybe clear the doubt, or we can get some information that we need to get as a country, because we are really confused, because you are getting two different scripts. But for me, I choose to believe the side of the government and the intelligence, because even when you go and do your research, you'll find this guy is not an upright man, is not a guy who is known for doing the right things. Therefore, I think there was a reason enough for him to be deported. Therefore, I don't know in which capacity is a deputy president apologizing to this guy. He should not have said he's apologizing on behalf of the government, but it would rather be easy and more reasonable if he apologized in his own capacity as Dr. William Ruto, because when he says on behalf of the government, it is the same government that he is saying he is not part of. It's the same government that says Wakora walimfukuza Jubilee. Therefore, I don't really know where he stands, because he is in UDA. The next time he is in government, he is eliminating duties on behalf of the same government, but in certain functions, he is not in the same government. Therefore, the deputy president should stop this kind of double standards and take one side, so that we can really understand the kind of person that he is. But on that issue, he had no right to say that he apologizes on the behalf of the government. But it would be maybe Tangatanga or UDA. That is where the guy is welcome, but not for all of us as Kenyans. Thank you.
Okay, and let's see how the Daily Nation captured that story. It is on the main headline, how Ruto man was kicked out at night and Turkish national said to be an investor, but whose companies remain a mystery, spirited out of the country at 5 a.m. in an unclear circumstances to the chagrin of Deputy President William Ruto. The story is on page 4. Quickly, we see how the Daily Nation has has captured the story. The weekend-long controversy following the arrest and detention of Harun Ayadin, the Turk in Deputy President William Ruto's botched trip to Uganda, ended yesterday with his dramatic deportation to Istanbul. Mr. Ayadin, who had been detained at the Anti-Terror Police Unit headquarters along Ngong Road in Nairobi since Saturday, was whisked by security agents to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. At 4 a.m., they handed him over to immigration officials who rushed through the necessary processes, then moved him to a waiting aircraft. He left on a scheduled Turkish Airlines flight TK608 that had to be delayed for 46 minutes for security and immigration officials to clear the paperwork. The flight, which was supposed to take off at 4:25 a.m., eventually departed at 5:11 a.m. for the 6.5-hour journey to Istanbul. It landed at 11:05 a.m. I think when we were here and Dr. Matanga was breaking the news for us yesterday, Mr. Ayadin's lawyers and officials from the Turkish embassy had 9:30 a.m. gathered at the Kahawa Law Courts in Kiambu, which handles terrorism cases, where authorities had indicated on a Saturday that he will be arraigned. Apparently, they were unaware their client was already miles away on his way to Istanbul. Mr. Ayadin had been arrested on Saturday morning at Wilson Airport upon arrival from Uganda, where he had been since last Monday. And I think, right, and the story continues, but I think how on the headline and how the Daily Nation has captured it, this Turkish investor, his companies are still a mystery, and nobody really knows what he does as a businessman, according to, whatever it is, the official papers. Douglas.
Miriam, the government cannot just wake up and investigate Harun Ayadin for nothing. They know what they are saying, and also Harun Ayadin knows what they are. Harun Ayadin knows what he knows. The government knows what they know, and in particular, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, a leader that in recent past has brought a lot of shame to the government offices across Africa and even in the world. We have not had in the recent past a top government official being implicated in issues of money laundering, terrorism, and other evil things, Miriam, that cannot be permitted at their own offices or at their caliber of leadership in this country or anywhere in the world, Miriam. When Harun Ayadin wakes up in the morning and registers small companies in July with some shady characters, people who have no past business record in this country, people of ordinary standing with no known business acumen, if Harun Ayadin is an investor of to reckon with, like William Ruto is trying to let us know, a fruit farmer who has been advanced over 15 billion through a phone call by William Ruto, goes to Uganda, sets up a vaccines factory, but in this country, where even he has a business permit, it is a business permit that even the companies that are in question, Miriam, those transactions from those companies are not those transactions. The operations of those businesses are not known. The address of those offices or their offices or addresses are not known in this country. There is nothing to link Harun Ayadin with mega business in this country like William Ruto wants to allege. And what is this that is of particular concern to William Ruto with Harun Ayadin? That has not been with Jimmy Wanjigi, a known businessman in this country, and actually a presidential contender on ODM ticket in 2022 general election, when he was being persecuted by the government of having arms in his own house, yard guns in his own house, and other issues. We never saw William Ruto campaign against the harassment and also the way Jimmy Wanjigi was mistreated, Miriam. We have never seen William Ruto talk about how Keroche is being arrested and being taken to court because that is a Roko business. We have never seen this same William Ruto talk about many other businesses and also businessmen and women who have been harassed like Manu Chandaria in this country and Mombasa Cement. We have never seen him even speak for the people, for the poor people that he purports to represent. The poor people who are always having their wares being thrown out of their shops in Nairobi by city county askaris and all that. We have never seen William Ruto come out candidly and speak for the poor people in this country. And at the end of the day,
Manu Chandaria is a national treasure. I've not heard anyone harass him, so I don't know.
Yes, Miriam, but he had issues with his own company called Karuworks. But we never saw William Ruto speak about Karuworks going bankruptcy or even advancing some monies, maybe 20 or 50 billion to Manu Chandaria through Equity Bank, through a phone call. We never saw Karuworks being saved from periphery of bankruptcy and failure by this same deputy president. Why is Aaron Ayadin so special, Miriam? So special from Turkey. And this Turkish is so special to William Ruto that people, hawkers in this city, who are having their wares being thrown out of their trading areas by the city county askaris and the policemen, being harassed and arrested every day. William Ruto has never raised his voice over impunity in this country for the last 30 years. Why is he talking about Aaron Ayadin, a foreigner that does not even vote for William Ruto, Miriam? There is more that meets the eye. William Ruto knows the truth. Aaron Ayadin knows the truth. And everyone in the mix knows the truth, including myself. We all know that Aaron Ayadin is a Shende character, a man that is supposed to be deported the way he has been deported by the government of Kenya. But we are seeing William Ruto coming out and saying, Rookie Aaron Ayadin, I apologize on behalf of the government of Kenya. Which government, Miriam? We need to be able to distinguish between a true working government for the national security of their people, for the good and welfare of their people, and a government that is being run in the hand of William Ruto in his own act, a government that has been permitted with the terrorists, conmen, and the people of bad standing in this country, Miriam, and even outside this country. It is bad that we cannot even trace a single business that Aaron Ayadin has done in this country except the business permits and the small shady business names and the limited companies that he has registered, the two of them. Miriam, a time has come for us as a country to be able to clean our leadership, starting with William Ruto. William Ruto should be held to account for the matters that he's handling today. He is handling a very serious and a sensitive issue of terrorism in this country. Our national security is at stake, but for William Ruto, his greed has overtaken everything that is logical in the logical way of looking at things in this country. Because Miriam, if a top leader in this country of standing over Deputy President William Ruto comes out and defends suspects of terrorism, our national security is at threat, and the President of the Republic of Kenya should come out of the woods, should come out of the way and speak over this matter, because Miriam, we are dealing with a very terrible liar, a leader that does not care about the people of Kenya. He cares about Ayadin, a Turkish who does not even vote for him or even the president in this country, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay. And Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. Now, the nation understands Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i signed the deportation order on Sunday. Security sources told the nation that apart from his alleged links to terrorism, Mr. Ayadin was also being investigated for money laundering, reportedly due to his suspicious trips into and out of the country. In 2 of the trips, there were no exit stamps on his passport. The businessman runs a company known as Unit 2 HA Investment Energy Africa Limited. He was issued with a work permit by the Immigration Department on June 30th, and which expires on June 29th, 2023. As such, we conducted on 2 Kenyan phone numbers listed on his permit, however, show that they were registered to 2 different people. And I think I saw that was a conversation Kenyans were having yesterday online. They're saying if he were legit and his business was legit, and indeed he was given a work permit, why would he not register his phone numbers that he took from Kenya as his working numbers on his name? Why did he use 2 different identities? Samuel Tawish, and both are not his.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you, Miriam Mobutu, of course, Douglas Boni Kirimi, Javan Karanja, and everyone who's watching this program in Africa and the rest of the world. Truly, it's a very good conversation you're having this morning on this particular matter. But Miriam, if I shall put it this way, I think, first of all, let us laud the government of Kenya for the action they took. One, in apprehending and consequent deportation of this Turkish businessman in court. Because again, it appears, according to government authorities, that the activities that this particular Turkish was running in the country were not legit. And I think so many revelations are coming to the fore. One is that even his coming into the country and his stay in the country is questionable because he has the passports or his documents really has not been stamped. That in itself means that there's someone who is in high authority who is trying to actually have this person stay in the country, not necessarily because of business, but because of other shoddy deals. Because again, Miriam, if you're running a legit business, just like you've alluded to, where will this person really be hesitant?
We apologize for that. We seem to be having a bit of a reception hitch there from Tawish. Tawish, we can't get you, but once you're able to fix that, you can come back. Jevan Karanja, perhaps you could take on the same question. Why would he use other people's IDs to register his phone numbers here?
And thank you very much, Miriam, for that. And I've said this, and I will continue saying that this man is...
And first of all, it's illegal, right?
It is illegal. And you see, from the onset, the foundation that you are getting, the foundation that this guy established in this country is based on malice, deceit, and illicit kind of activities. Because when you engage in activities where you are getting even forgery of your name, Miriam, these are criminal, because that is a criminal activity, because he needs to have registered duly, follow the right procedures. But we find a guy who has gone out to register with different identities. Therefore, there's something that he is hiding. This kind of hiding the identity is mostly used by criminal enterprises. Therefore, when we say this guy, the government has all reasons to suspect all subsequent deportation of Harun Yadin to his country business, because at the end of the day, the livelihood of Kenyans must be protected. We need to feel safe at our country. Miriam, you could see those days from the day the deputy president was stopped from flying to Uganda with Harun and the rest of the team. People have been having a lot of anxieties, and people are not really were in a mood of tension. They didn't know what would happen in our country. Because when you hear report that this is a suspect terror who is in the country and so on, we don't know what they were planning. Therefore, the government has done the right thing, ensuring that they clear the doubt and Kenyans can go on with their business without fearing that a certain intruder is in the country who can do anything for his survival or to get some few coins here and there. But Miriam, when you see a government official associating with all these kind of guys, because I'm left wondering as a Kenyan, how comes that all guys who have questionable characters, they find rescue at the hands of the deputy president? When you look at the politicians who follow the deputy president around the country, you see the likes of Rigathi Gachagua. They have been accused of embezzlement of 2 billion public taxpayers' money. When you look at other characters like Rashid Echesa and so on, you'll find these guys were engaged in a dubious gun business. Therefore, when you look at all these guys, they find rescue at the hands of the deputy president. Therefore, as Kenyans, we need to ask, how comes that everyone who is questionable, everyone who has a criminal record, they find rescue at the hands of the deputy president? Maybe he is giving them rescue, maybe he's protecting them. And I think maybe this is the reason why he is going ahead, he has gone ahead to apologize for the mistreatment that Harun Yadin experienced in the country, because maybe they have been doing some kind of businesses, and maybe that is why we find the deputy president and the team, they are known to ditch disposable cash. They have disposable cash at around everywhere they go, Miriam. You find them ditching this huge amount of money. Maybe they get them from this kind of processes. Therefore, through this kind of activities, Kenyans are left wondering Why the deputy president? Why everything that goes bad in this country, the deputy president must be mentioned, all his allies? Therefore, we need to know, and the government should continue doing the investigations so that they can bring Kenyans into speed on what really this guy was doing in the country and what was his intention. Because we know, as we have 1 year to the general election, Miriam, we have all reasons to be worried, because we know this is a time that politicians can do everything for them to remain relevant and for them to get into political office. I submit.
Thank you so much. And I see Samuel Tawish is back. Tawish, please complete your thoughts that were interrupted by a bad connection earlier.
Very well, Miriam. I think the point I was trying to bring home, Miriam, is that we've seen what appears to be undying zeal from Deputy President William Ruto to allegedly try to protect this foreign business person. Of course, Douglas Kirimi did mention earlier on, Miriam, I've never seen, ever since, of course, in the Kenyan politics or even in this country, the kind of zeal and commitment that a whole deputy president will really deploy to try and protect a foreigner, and one who he refers as an investor, while the government is serving in, really has labeled him as a terrorist, because again, they look into the activities, the past history of this particular individual are not really that positive. So Miriam in itself really raises a lot of questions. First, you can imagine that Deputy President William Ruto was engaging in getting business or getting finances for this particular person in the name of an investor, Miriam. I cannot understand how a person from all the way from Turkey can come to Kenya without any money to come and borrow from the Kenyan government or the Kenyan bank, and go and invest in a different country altogether. But again, we want to call him a Kenyan investor. I do not even understand. Up to this moment, Miriam, I'm really struggling to understand how this can happen in such a country, and especially when you have a whole deputy president who aspires to become president come the next general election, who actually has been advocating and saying that his campaign has been really been pegged on trying to uplift the lives of the people by creating job opportunities and all such kind of things, Miriam. In itself, I think it's a slap on the face of Deputy President William Ruto to continually want to hoodwink Kenyans. I mean, you've had Douglas Kirimi speak about how other people or other businesses in the country, I mean, how other people have been mistreated in the past in the hands of the government of Kenya or in the hands of the authorities. But you've never seen Deputy President William Ruto really come out to defend them. You remember the case of Miguna, who was arrested and deported, I mean, twice in the country because, again, of what? Of course, because of what he did in as far as the swearing in of illegal swearing in of Raila Odinga as people's president in Uhuru Park sometime in January 2018. I mean, as we speak today, Miguna has not been able to come to the country. I've not seen Deputy President William Ruto even make a single tweet or even issue a press conference or even his allies speak about why Miguna should come back to the country, because again, he's a Kenyan and all of us really contended that. But again, here we have a foreigner whom the deputy president and all his brigade have really deployed all energy, all focus, all attention. Miriam, this has never happened in a democracy like Kenya, and I think we are heading in the right direction. If the government cannot move swiftly and try to see the shoddy deals and the behind-the-scene deals that Deputy President William Ruto is engaging to try and get undeserving political mileage and sympathy votes as we head into 2022 general election. But more burdening, Miriam, is that he's trying to paint the same government he's serving in bad faith, more so his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta. This is very, very unfortunate, and I think it is time that we need really to stop Deputy President William Ruto, leave alone the people who coalesce around him and engaging in such kind of questionable deals, Miriam. I submit for now.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. And just a little bit far off from politics, page 3 of the Star newspapers, researchers why Kenyan athletes dominate long races. First of all, congratulations to our Kenyan athletes who represented the country in the just concluded Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. Kenya was the one that was leading in the continent by the number of medals, but was number 19 worldwide. So congratulations, you made us proud. And we are happy. And so now researchers are always advancing explanations for why Kenyan athletes have dominated distance running since 1960s. what is it about elite runners compared with their trained tip-toe shape but non-light peers? Some attribute it to food, genes and surroundings, while others propose a psychological advantage whereby Kenyans already see themselves as unbeatable. I wish we could see ourselves in other aspects also like this. A new study now offers two more possible answers: a shorter ground contact time and better running economy. Better runners are known to spend less time on the ground and more time in flight, and the research continues. But you know, this is something that has puzzled the rest of the world, and we see even athletes from other countries coming into the, in Kenya to train with our athletes here. But still, when they go out there, Kenyans still manage to beat them, especially in these long distance races. So why do you think Kenyan athletes do so well, Douglas Kirimi? Jevan.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I think Kenyans, we are blessed. I would say that this is a gift, maybe from God, because it's something that we cannot really explain what it is. But I think with the persistence and hard work and a lot of practice, I think that is why our Kenyan athletes get to that point. Also, I think the issue, and I have heard one of the researchers here saying the issue of mentality, because we have been used to winning these races, these short, these long races. I think the perception that we have as Kenyans and the perception that our athletes have is that this is the area that we have to dominate. And you find them winning with ease because they have that morale. We have motivated them, and they know even back in their country, we believe that this is our area, and they have to bring the gold. And I think those are some of the reasons. And I think, Miriam, when you look at the majority of these guys, they come from a specific region of our country, and that is from the Kalenjin nation. And I think with the atmosphere in that area, the terrain, I think is a very good place to practice and to get some to harden yourself for these competitions. And I think the issue of the food that they take, there are a lot of things in one that make Kenyans succeed in these areas. Also, the government really supports our athletes, and I think these are very good milestone, because when you look at the areas like football, especially in our men, we do it so poorly, and we are used that Kenyans are not good in football. And I think even when we go for a competition, we go with that mentality that we'll be beaten. And even you see Kenyans, they don't go to see or to watch these football matches, but when it comes to athletics, you'll see the fields and the stadium filled to the brim. Therefore, I think Kenyans, we are blessed, and we should continue hoping that as time goes, we have more of athletics shining and continue carrying our flag higher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Douglas.
Miriam, I under technical reach. Repeat your question.
All right. You're saying that, world over now, even researchers are trying to find out why Kenyan athletes dominate these long races, as we saw in the just concluded Tokyo Olympics, and even years before that, we see how Kenyans do so well in these long races, and they're trying to wonder why. Why is this? Why do you think that is the case?
Miriam, I think one of the things that give Kenya good advantage is the good environment where they train, and also the hard work that they put in. Remember, most of these athletes in Kenya, Miriam, are people who have always devoted their lives and their commitment to running and every sport that they engage in. If it is the Harambee Stars, you get to see that these people will always train in and out of season. They don't run because they are going to run in Tokyo. But people like Kipchoge, they don't go and run or practice to run because they have a marathon to run. This is their lifestyle. If it is the people who are dominating the long distance races in this country, you find it is a job for them. It is a commitment of the Kenyan people. It is the indomitable spirit of the Kenyan people. Whenever they try to their thing, they will put their work in and out of season. So I also believe, Miriam, part of the reason why Kenyans keep winning these long distance races is not a miracle, Miriam. It is out of pure hard work and also their commitment to their craft. Because as the more they keep doing the same, the more they keep practicing and doing their exercises, means that they are going to dominate these races, Miriam. And you have also seen that also in other parts of the world. There are races that we are predicted that Kenyans are going to win, but you find some other countries come and get the medals, gold medals, and Kenyans do.
Go ahead. Okay, I think we've lost Douglas there. We've lost him. So Samuel Tawish, just on the matter quickly, and then we move on to something else.
Thank you, Miriam. And I think my other panelists have really given, of course, a perspective of what makes the Kenyan athletes to be the best, especially when it comes to long distance running, Miriam. I think one is about the indomitable spirit that Douglas Bundi-Kirimi has spoken about, but more to it, Miriam, I think it is that resilience, it is the determination and focus that our athletes really have. Coupled with the good climate that is Kenya, of course, it has made it possible. And of course, also the talent that is in Kenya, of course, in these aspects of athletics. And Miriam, you remember yesterday, Dr. Masanga speaking, really referring to one Eliud, was it Eliud Kipchoge, or if I can remember the name very well,
yes,
as the best investor that Kenya has ever had, because it's putting a lot of investment in time, in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of focus, in making sure that he really does not disappoint his nation, that is Kenya. I think that is the patriotism that we really want to see when our flag is being hoisted of course, in foreign countries, in the Western world, especially because of the performance of our athletes. It's really, raises the impetus of this country on the global spectrum. And I think, Miriam, if all of us can really have such kind of spirit, such kind of teamwork, then I can tell you that Kenya can really be a very great country, not only on the aspect of athletics, but I think on all other aspects, even when it comes to politics, when it comes to running the affairs of government, when it comes to how we correlate with one another, especially our brothers and sisters from different other communities. Dr. Masanga spoke yesterday about the unity in diversity, and I think that is what is coming out, because again, when you look into the performance of our athletes in Tokyo, Japan, they just recently concluded, Miriam, it can clearly tell you the kind of teamwork and spirit and the good mindset and attitude that these athletes really have, that has made them to be the best in the African continent and managed really to become number 19. Although even some Kenyans really feel maybe we would have performed better than this, but they say it's better half a loaf than nothing. So in this case, I think we need, first of all, also to congratulate our athletes, because they have made us proud, they have made the continent of Africa proud, and anytime they come to the pitch really to compete, it's always our prayer that they win. And when they do, Miriam, we do not regard to them as coming from which particular community, because again, when you look into these athletes, if you are to look at it broadly, they come from the Kalenjin nation. Some of them come from the Maasai land, the likes of David Rudisha. Some of them come from the Kikuyu nation. Some of them come from the Kamba nation. What does it really tell you? That when we unite in our diversity, then we can achieve great things. And it is actually evident from the kind of performance you have seen from our athletes in the just concluded, of course, Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. This is the kind of spirit, Miriam, I suppose that all of us should emulate, even in other engagements in the country back here at home. I submit, Miriam.
Very well. Thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. On page 7 of the Daily Nation, JSC is biased against me, says Mwilu in graft cases. Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu has claimed the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, is biased in handling petitions that are seeking her removal from office over alleged gross misconduct. Though she is a member of the JSC representing Supreme Court judges, the DCJ says the commission also infringed her rights in admitting 4 petitions filed to hound her out of the judiciary. She says the commission admitted the petitions when it lacked rules to govern the business and contrary to its own regulations that prevent it from entertaining disputes that are proceeding in court. The petitions at the GSC were filed by civilians Peter Kirika and Alexander Mogane in June 2019 and by Mogire Mogaka in October 2018. The 4th was jointly lodged by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in 2019. According to the petitioners, Justice Mwilu is unfit for public office due to corruption, failure to pay taxes, forgery, and utter false document. And now the DCJ is saying JSC is biased against her, and yet she's still a member of the JSC representing the Supreme Court. Okay, Jevan. Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. We cannot have a member of the JSC saying that JSC is biased against her, because Miriam, we all have heard what the DCJ was saying, was doing to the cases that have been deferred and also issues that have that pertain as far as fraud case is concerned, and the other case that has been also filed against her. We need to also understand that this is a DCJ that has refused to vacate or even resign temporarily or step aside temporarily as investigations were being done against her person. As she was accused of fraud over the failed bank, the bank under receivership, the Imperial Bank of Kenya. Miriam, this is a DCJ that has abused the court process and made sure that at this point, Miriam, we cannot have a credible and free and fair hearing of a case, a fraud case, and she made sure that she has been able to frustrate every process, abusing the court process in the process of the same. But when you look at what she's doing today, it's the same thing that she has done. Now, these are dying straws of a person that has a case that she does not want acted and a case that she does not want acted in a court of law, where we are going to get justice for her and also for accusers. Because Miriam, when the push comes to the shove, we need to see the DCJ exonerated or convicted of the same crime that she has been accused of, the fraud cases against her. But when you look at what she has been able to do, at one point, she cited that Senior Counsel John Aminwa was sick and he could not be able to attend court because he had COVID. Then the judge asked that why does the senior counsel, why does Dr. John Aminwa not appear via Zoom in court to represent her? Then they said he's sick, he's in hospital and all that. That was not enough comparing reason for the court to be able to adjourn the hearing of our case or judgment or ruling of our case, because Miriam, this is a DCJ of the Republic of Kenya with a battery of lawyers, a person that a case would have been concluded a long time ago. It is the DCJ that is frustrating the JSC and also frustrating and abusing the court process, Miriam. I have no kind words for her, like I have said before on this television, Miriam. We need to be able to conclude on this matter. The accusers of DCJ needs closure. The DCJ needs closure so that we can know that she is not corrupt, Miriam. Why is she making noise? Is she the only person who has a fraud case in court today, Miriam? Is she the only person who has a case in court in this country? So, Miriam, we need to be able to separate wheat and chaff. Why? Because there are so many millions of Kenyans who have no opportunity of accusing the GSC or accusing the courts of the biasness or accusing the court of favoritism against their cases and everything that pertains to these cases, Miriam. There are thousands of Kenyans, if not millions, who are in prisons, Miriam, who cannot have the voice that the DCJ has today. The DCJ should be able to rate the JSC or the judiciary handle our cases properly, without interference and without making a lot of noise, Miriam. There are people with court cases in this country, and we have never seen them prosecute these cases in the court of public opinion. The DCJ knows the law very clearly. Actually, she was the acting Chief Justice before we had a new Chief Justice. She knows the law, and the law is very clear. She is not guilty until proven so. So, Miriam, let the DCJ give a free course. Let the DCJ give these cases a free course so that we can be able to know, is she truly a fraud suspect or she was being accused of something that she has not done. If these cases are concluded, which should have facilitated by cooperating with the courts, the same courts she answers at DCJ, would have gotten the answers by now, Miriam. Okay. But as she continues prosecuting her cases in the court of public opinion, it doesn't matter, Miriam, at this point for her to keep prosecuting these cases on court of public opinion when we need to conclude her case so that we can determine, is she a fraud suspect truly, or these are mere allegations against a person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jevan Karanja. DCJ is saying that the JSC is biased because she's saying the commission is infringing on her rights in admitting 4 petitions against her, and yet the case is already in court. So she's saying the commission does not even have rules that will govern such a hearing, so they're infringing on her rights. Jevan.
Yeah, thank you, Miriam, for that. And it's quite worrying that a member of the Judicial Service Commission can come and talk ill of the same commission that he sits under, when they were vetting the Chief Justices, applicants, she was there. Therefore, we need also to, as Kenyans, when you say something is bad and you are part of the system, you need to step aside so that we can also see you mean what you say, but you cannot fight to remain in the same system where you feel your rights are being infringed, where you feel like you are not given the right the right accordance as it's supposed to be, but you are basically going around telling us how this commission is biased. If that is an insider who is saying that, what about us Kenyans who feel like this is a commission that need to be checking on how our judicial officers are behaving, how they are carrying out their job? If they say they are biased, Miriam, we might also see some judges coming and saying that this commission is not good, and that is not the kind of situation we want. We want to better the commission so that we can at least have an independent judiciary that will be able to deliver the mandate of ensuring that justice is done to Kenyans without delay, and to ensure that they fight the backlog of cases that we have in our judicial systems, so that at least when we go to our courts, we can be assured of getting justice, a judiciary that will fight corruption. But when you look at the character of the Philomena Mwilu, she has been accused of several scandals, and she is still there. Why can't she resign and maybe fight from outside and maybe clear his name? And I think there's a problem not only with our judiciary, but it's a problem that has escalated from a political field where leaders have been accused of corruption. They don't have a shame to continue delivering duties, to continue dismantling the duties that they have been accorded by Kenyans. And when you have that kind of allegation on your side, the best you can do is to step aside so that you can clear your name, so that you can go and ensure that investigations are done. And maybe if you are innocent, you can continue with your job. But you see, even if judiciary, the same problem is so permanent, then we need also as a country to look and ensure that we bring more strict measures and laws to ensure that anyone who is accused of corruption, whether they are guilty or not, they need to step aside so that investigations will be done and they clear themselves, because when they maintain to remain in these offices, what they do, they end up interfering with the investigation. They end up tampering with the investigation. And Miriam, that is how we end up having some shoddy kind of investigation. That is how we end up having them remain in the country, in the offices, and it's not a good gesture, really. Therefore, for Philomena Mwilu and the Judicial Service Commission and other people, especially in public service, who have been accused of corruption, they should not maintain to continue with their job, but they should rather step aside so that investigation will be done and be done in the right way. I submit.
Okay. Thank you. And the petitioners also claim that the DCJ was involved in irregular sale and acquisition of property, and that her continued participation in judicial affairs is a mockery of the Constitution. Their facts for removal of Justice Mwilu relate to a criminal case that was leveled against her in 2018 on improper dealing with the Imperial Bank Limited. While addressing the High Court yesterday during the hearing of her case against the intended disciplinary proceedings, Justice Mwilu said she was also not afforded equal opportunity. The bench, comprising of Justice Juma Chitembwe, Weldon Korir, and Roslyn Aburili. Samuel Tabish, this matter of DCJ has refused to go away, and now she's saying JSC is indeed biased against her.
Thank you, Miriam, for that question. And I think first and foremost, it's important for us to make it clear that Philomena Mwilu is not a member of the Judicial Service Commission. I think she was just a JSC member by virtue of not there being a substantive Chief Justice at the time she was acting as Deputy Chief Justice. That is why she was actually a member of the Judicial Service Commission, especially during the vetting in of the new Supreme Court judges and also the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya.
She's a member of the JSC representing Supreme Court judges. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Miriam. But again, I think, Miriam, what is important is that we all as Kenyans gave ourselves, or rather adopted this new constitution, a constitution that has now given people even windows or leeways to continue serving in these capacities at a time we have issues, or we have questionable issues of questionable integrity. A case of Philomena Mwilu, Miriam, you and I, and of course the panelists really understand that if it was in any other developed world, if it was in Western power countries, we should not even be having Philomena Mwilu today, leave alone as Chief Justice. But again, she will not even be serving as a judge or in any other capacity, and more so in such a serious institutions like the judiciary, Miriam. But that is Kenya for you, that is Africa for you. We have to contend with that reality that you have individuals who want to stick around, who want to stand in their ground, even when all the odds are not in their favor. And in this case, Miriam, the virtue of moral responsibility, I think should have actually reigned on Philomena Mwilu to understand that much as she's waiting for the logical conclusion of this particular matter, her case, then she should have just stepped aside or even resigned to allow, of course, this particular case to go into its full hearing and logical conclusion. That will be the only way for her really to guarantee to Kenyans that the judiciary in itself, because this is the institution that is so critical, and that if you have individuals who have questionable character and integrity, people who are not competent enough, people who Kenyans believe are not fit to be there in the first place, then there's no one who will even believe in their undertakings or judgments, because again, you understand the role that the judges play in this country, the role that the judiciary plays, and more fundamentally, the role that the Supreme Court of Kenya really performs in this country. And when you have a member of the member of the Supreme Court, and more so as a Deputy Chief Justice, Miriam, having such kind of questionable integrity, then it begs the question: what will Kenyans really perceive of her rulings? What will Kenya perceive of her verdicts in as far as dispensing justice is concerned? So I really concur with my other colleague panelists that I think it is time this DCJ Philomena Mwilu just allow this process to go into its logical conclusion. But again, she should not now begin pointing fingers at the Judicial Service Commission. The JSC cannot be wrong only when you are not part of it, or when you feel like it is not serving your own interest. I mean, it has to be an equal kind of approach when it comes to matters matters justice. It does not matter whether you are president. It does not matter whether you are the Chief Justice or the Speaker of the National Assembly, whichever kind of position you hold in this Republic of Kenya, in any other arm of government, Miriam, I think justice has to be applied equally, and Philomena Mwilu being the DCJ is no exemption. And in this case, she does not need really to dictate how she should be treated separately from other people who are convicted or who are suspected to have engaged themselves in such shoddy deals, Miriam. So at this particular point, I think what we should call for DCJ Mwilu is, first of all, to resign and allow investigations and full hearing of this matter to be carried out, so that we get to understand if she's going to be cleared, then good for her. If she's going to be convicted, then she has to face the full wrath of the law. I think that is what we really need to do.
Okay, thank you so much. And I know our time is almost up, but there's a story on page 6 and also 7 of the Standard newspaper. It's a male-dominated political field this time, and they outline what is happening there. And the next story on page 6 is Ruto champs Nyanza as Uhuru enters home stretch. As the quest to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta entered the last 365 days, top contenders are carefully choosing when not to associate with the current regime's hits and misses. Deputy President William Ruto yesterday met elected leaders from Nyanza at a Nakuru hotel, where he sought their support for his bottom-up economic model. In his address, Ruto summarily trashed President Uhuru Kenyatta's last 4 years, saying he counts them as time lost to the detriment of Kenyans who had high expectations on the Big Four agenda. In my record, we have lost a whole 4 years. We didn't have an opportunity to deliver the Big Four agenda because the other principles shifted to the quest for constitutional change. I can only account for the first term, and we know his boss, says it the other way around. So he's saying this 4 years has been a waste. Douglas, you're surprised.
I am, Miriam, because William Ruto was I think it is in Nyandarua or Naivasha, when he told a roadside meeting that they have been able to connect Naivasha. He was actually in a church and then went for a roadside meeting and told the people of Kenya, especially via the people of Naivasha, that we have connected almost 90% of this country to electricity, built roads for you. We have been able to make education cheaper for your children, 100% transition to secondary school, and which the government has done. Miriam, this is my huge problem with Dr. William Ruto. How can you come out of the hoods and take advantage of the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta when it is convenient for you to do so? The question is, and it should be, why should William Ruto not be told the truth? That even when I'm in Meru, I can see what Dr. William Ruto said to the people. I can see, listen, and watch what William Ruto said to the people of Naivasha or the people of Kenya via the people of Naivasha. Then when he meets professionals, people masquerading as economists, professionals from the Nyanza region, he tells them, I count these 4 years as a loss. But when it comes to the ordinary people, the people with the power to vote for leaders, people who vote for leaders en masse, not people like Erud Yowaro, who are just chewing his money, but the ordinary people, he tells them, the roads you see here, we have constructed these roads. The electricity you see here for your children in your schools, this is our hard work. Everything that you see in this country actually is our own, is to our own advantage. But when you meet professionals, less than 200 people, 100 people, you tell them, you count these years as a loss. The same Kenyans can see the same hypocrisy. Hybrid kind of political conmanship that has been exhibited by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya should not be extended to the future, Miriam. That's why I have said before that we need to change the constitution of the Republic of Kenya, that I can change my deputy when I want to do so. Miriam, I do not need such a man that can be able to take advantage of my administration's achievement when it is convenient for them to do so. When they want to continue lying, they can then marine my administration and then count it as a loss. Miriam, deputy governors and deputy president in the future should be chased out of any government, whether it's a county government or a national government, at the whim and a whim of the leader that has gone ahead and submitted their name as a governor or as a president, Miriam.
Right.
Because if I were President Uhuru Kenyatta, I would have invoked anything that can be invoked in this country and chase William Ruto away from this administration. Because,
right.
Miriam, the Constitution does not allow this, Miriam.
Yes. Yes, I know. I wish I had seen this topic earlier. Like, let me allow the others to also say something quickly.
Okay, thank you, Miriam.
Yes, thank you so much, Douglas. And this is what he said. As a cabinet minister, I transformed the agriculture and education departments. My track record as a deputy president during the first term is clear. With this, I assure Kenyans that I will deliver on this model, said Ruto. So there you go. But he's saying the last 4 years has been a waste so much. Jevan Karanja.
Thank you very much. And if the 4 years have been a waste, and constitutionally, Deputy President William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta, they were elected on a pair ticket. If Jubilee administration of the last year has been a waste, also the Deputy President of the same administration has been a waste as well. Therefore, he should not take Kenyans for rides and maybe think that we don't see outside the box. If Jubilee administration for the second term has failed, then he as the deputy president, he as the deputy party leader of the Jubilee party, he has also failed the Kenyans. And the best we can do, Miriam, with the people who have failed this country is to set them for a relegation, is to set them for a political break, and as to some extent send them for a political oblivion, where they will not come back again for political sins, because they have failed this country. And I think as we head to 2022 general elections, Kenyans have seen, Kenyans know who has delivered, Kenya knows who have not delivered. And even in the last 4 years, in the first 4 years of Jubilee administration, it was doing good jobs. It really did what Deputy President is saying. Then he could not be worried. In fact, he should be riding on that scorecard. But we have seen him come with different scenarios, with different policy, different agendas, and he is not really riding on the Jubilee scorecard or during the first term. Therefore, we are left with the question: if they really did amazing and a credible job, why is he not using that scorecard to better his chances of becoming the president of this country? When he says that when he was a CS, he streamlined the agricultural sector, Miriam. From what I know, farmers cried the most when the deputy president was the CS, the minister for agriculture. And when he says that he transformed the higher education, I really don't know what transformation is it, because what I know, he reduced the time that Form 4 students used to wait before joining campus. And I think he should bring more tangible solution and more what he have done, not just saying that he changed agriculture. He should tell us in which ways did he better the agricultural sector when he was at the helm of the ministry, right, so that we can really understand what he means, because we need to know and we need to look at the history of these leaders so that we can predict the kind of future that we can bestow our country if they happen to be at the topmost leadership. Okay. I submit.
Thank you so much. Samuel Tawish, conclude for us.
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you for this honor. Miriam, it was the legendary Chinua Achebe who once quipped that when the gods want to destroy a man, they first make him mad. And I think when you look into Deputy President William Ruto, he looks like a man who has completely gone berserk. He's displayed the utmost arrogance, political bravado, and what appears to be a political Goliath of our moment. Because to him, it is only him who knows the best for this country. It is only him who knows how to provide good services for the people of Kenya. Anybody else doing anything else is nothing, according to Deputy President William Ruto. This is very, very unfortunate. I think, firstly, he decided to isolate himself from the government. And now he envies what President Uhuru Kenyatta has been able to achieve for the last about 4 years, when he sidelined himself when President Uhuru Kenyatta decided to work with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. President Kenyatta himself has come out and alluded to that fact that he's been able to achieve more in his second term than it were in the first term. And reason is one, that the government was captured by corruption cartel. And I think to the extent he just failed to mention that one of the people who has been derailing his agenda in government has been but none other than the Deputy President, William Ruto himself. This is very unfortunate. We've never had such kind of a Deputy President in this country. And Miriam, I even foresee that we may never have another one like Deputy President William Ruto. Mm-hmm. a man who is in government and at the same time criticizing the same government, a man who does not want to read from the same script with his boss, a man who is doing almost everything that is contrary to the government that is serving in. This is something that has never happened in the history of Kenya's politics, and it's very unfortunate for Deputy President William Ruto to continue displaying such kind of character before the Kenyan people, especially at a time when he is aspiring to become the Kenya's next CEO. I want to submit, Miriam, that whatever kind of position William Ruto has ever held, from being the member of parliament for Eldoret North constituency to becoming a member of the cabinet in various cabinet portfolios, I mean, everything is out there for everyone to see. It's just but being on self-aggrandizement and making sure that he swindles the money and takes all this to his advantage and not for the people of Kenya. He talks of the Ministry of Education, Higher Education. What is it that Deputy President William Ruto did while he was Minister for Higher Education? What is it that he has done for the Ministry of Agriculture when the people who are farmers in this country continue to cry about the high cost of farm inputs, about them not being in a position to sell their farm produce? What is it that Deputy President William Ruto did in terms of policy when he was Cabinet Minister for Agriculture, and even when he became the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya? Only that the farmers have continued really to suffer, especially even those who come from his region, the Rift Valley, who are ardent farmers in this country, Miriam. So this is not a person really who can be trusted to become the next CEO of this country because, one, he does not have the interest of the people at heart. It is as basic as that, and I think that is how Kenyan people should treat him when they go to ballot come the next year's general election. I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. And that is where we end our show this morning. Thank you, Samuel Tabish, Jevan Karanja, and of course, Douglas Kirimi. And you would notice that I did not look at the main headlines on the Star newspaper and the Standard newspaper. IEBC sets new finance rules for 2022. And here comes Kenya's most expensive poll. That is because that will be subject to our conversation at 11 a.m. This has been Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.